Welcome to Real Talk, a podcast where we have real conversations about faith, doubt, and everything in between. I'm your host, Reverend Thea Fusen, currently serving at First United Methodist Church, Pearland, and I'm joined today by some of our youngest podcast guests to talk a little bit about what kids know about faith. So, Lincoln, why don't you tell us how old you are and what grade and school you're going to next year?
Hi, my name is Lincoln Wisby, and I'm going into third grade, and I'm 8 years old at Parkway Academy.
Awesome. And Noble, what about you?
Hello, my name is Noble Besser. I am 9 years old, and I'm going into fourth grade at Shady Crest Elementary.
We've been having a fun week at Vacation Bible School. It's the afternoon. We might be a little tired, but I'm so glad that you made some time and space. So let's jump into it. What is faith?
Faith is something you can't feel or touch.
Okay.
Or see.
Okay.
Faith is like belief and trust and without faith, we would be worried.
Ooh. Okay. Why else do we need faith? Why does it matter?
Because if we didn't have faith, then we wouldn't be able to believe in God and Jesus.
So how would you describe God and Jesus as someone who's never heard about God or Jesus before?
From going to church and reading the Bible, I would describe Jesus as a person who always has time for people and always cares and does things for everybody.
What about you, Lincoln? How would you describe God to someone who's never heard of God before?
I would describe it by he's a really nice person and he always makes room for stuff.
Okay. And what about church? How would you describe church to a friend who had never come?
I would describe church as a way to learn about Jesus and have fun at the same time.
Oh, what kind of fun stuff?
Like the camps, like VBS and GIFT camp. And then there's always Sunday school.
It's really fun, and you get to learn about Jesus and God.
Any other fun things or any other special pieces about church that you would describe?
I like singing before.
Yeah, in worship together? Yeah. What happened today while y'all were singing at VBS?
The thing wasn't working.
What wasn't working?
The screens weren't.
And what happened?
We kept singing.
What was that like?
It was fun that everybody, that I knew that me and I wasn't the only one singing. I knew that other people were singing with me.
What about you, Lincoln?
It felt weird because all the people usually don't sing, but it was so fun.
Yeah. What do you think someone who doesn't go to church might experience if they tried it?
If I hadn't gone to church and I went to church, because I like singing in general, so I would have fun at the worship. And then I'm friends with the people that go. So if there was someone who didn't go, I would think they had.
Yeah, so they would have an opportunity to sing their faith together, but then also maybe meet some new friends. Yeah, is that fair? What about you, Lincoln? What do you think someone might experience if they were willing to try church?
I feel like they would experience that is really fun, and you get to learn about God and Jesus.
So you both said that you get to learn about God and Jesus at church. What are some things you've been learning about God and Jesus?
With VBS, I've been learning about faith a lot. And today in Bible, we learned about that God always has time.
What else? What else do you know about God and Jesus?
That we should be more like him.
How can we do that?
Read about the Bible and pray and all that stuff.
Those are some good things. What do you think, Lincoln?
By praying and talking to God and helping other people.
If you could talk to God, what might be some of the questions you would ask of God or Jesus or Holy Spirit?
I would ask Jesus why he left, why he's died the Lord.
I would ask him, what did you do when you were a kid?
You want to hear about Jesus' childhood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does he make time for?
Yeah, let's get down to the logistics, right? Exactly, spell it out. Yeah, I think I would ask, why do you trust us, human beings, when we're so bad sometimes, right? You said, I think God does want us to make room for people, to care for them, to love them. And sometimes I wonder, Why me? Do you ever wonder that? What else do you wonder that you might want to ask God about?
Like, why did you help us? Like, he didn't have to, but he did.
What do you think asking these questions or going to church and learning more about God, like, how is it going to help you now and maybe as you grow up?
As you grow up, if you have children and they ask you, why do we go to church? You can tell them everything that you've learned and why you went to church as a child.
Okay. Help you raise your family, maybe lead them in their faith. What about you? What do you think?
He'd like help you push through challenges because you went to church.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. So why don't you introduce yourself, your age, and what grade in school you're starting next year?
I'm Grace Besser. I am going into 6th grade at Sablatura Middle School.
Awesome. What about you?
I'm Lennox Bolden. I am 11 years old, and I'm going to 6th grade at Leon Sablatura Middle School.
Awesome. Why did you say yes to coming on the podcast and talking about faith today?
Well, I'm a person who loves people. He loves God. And I love helping people. Like, the best thing I could ever do in life. Because I was born to help people. Like, I couldn't be happy to do it. Couldn't be happy doing anything else. Couldn't be.
I love it.
Anything else.
Love it. What about you, Grace? Why'd you say yes?
I said yes because why not? So, just exciting. And I love talking, and I love talking about God. So, I was excited to do that.
Great. Well, how do you describe faith, and why does it matter?
I think you can describe faith like something that you can't touch, but you just have to believe in it.
It's kind of hard to describe.
Yeah.
What about you, Lennox? What's your try? How do you describe faith?
Faith describe it as something special, very, very special.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
Faith is like a shiny diamond. You want it, and it's good to have, but it's just not it's not priceless. It's very just beautiful.
Okay. And how do you describe God or Jesus to someone who's maybe never heard of God or Jesus before?
I would say the one who created you. I would say he is the best. He's the one who created the whole universe. Really, he's the one and only.
What about you, Grace?
He's he's a friend that you can't see, so you have to have faith in him.
Okay. What is one of your first memories about church?
So I remember, on the traditional side of FUMC Pearland, there used to be a thing where, like, when to collect money that people would donate to the church, the kids would walk down the halls, not the halls, the rows, and collect the money and put it in a bucket at the end.
Uh-huh.
And so sometimes I would just enjoy doing that.
Okay. So you got to kind of be a part of the offering every week? You got to play a really important role?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Lennox? Do you have any memories of church? What your first memories of church might be?
Well, my first memory of church is when I had VBS and I helped out with special needs, and I helped out with a bunch of good stuff for helping the community. A bunch of stuff cleaning up trash and painting stuff playgrounds for the little toddlers and kids. It's a good thing to do for the community.
Okay. How are some ways that church can be helpful in your life today?
It could be helpful by teaching people what God does and why we should be good people to help mankind and in the community as well. How to make things better. Also, churches also help kids in need, just kids with special disorders that they can't move around. Churches help them, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
Okay, wonderful. What do you think, Grace?
So I think church helped me find a friend that I could
like worship God with, and it made it, to be honest, less embarrassing for me. I don't really know why it made me feel embarrassed, but it made me feel less embarrassed. So I'm not like embarrassed to like worship God or talk about God in public, because I usually have like a friend with me.
I love that. That's really, really neat. What are some things you've learned about God, maybe through church or with your family?
So I have this sticker on my water bottle, and it says, "Spoiler, God wins." And so that's kind of something so church has helped me like take that and like break it up and learn more about it.
I love that. I love that. Such a simple message and reminder that in the end, no matter what it is that we're facing, no matter what challenges we have, no matter how awful things feel, God wins. Isn't that what the resurrection teaches us? I love that. And to grasp it at such a young age, hallelujah, good for you. What about you, Lennox? What are some things you might have learned through church?
Well, some things I learned through church is like how to help and like how to believe in Jesus Christ, and like also to like help out with stuff.
Yeah.
Like it teaches us religious and spiritual stuff like that. Like it teaches us about religious stuff.
What are some things you're still hoping to learn about God, or even some questions you might have for God?
I want to learn on how to be patient. I mean, like I have trouble having patience a little, and especially with my brother. He's funny. He's really, he's funny. He's 5 years old, and like he makes me so like, I'm happy to have him though. Very happy to have him.
Nice clarity.
Also, I also want to know what does God do up in heaven. Like, I just want to know what he does. And also, the last thing I want to learn about is how Jesus Christ led his life, like growing up and stuff.
Jesus' childhood, right? What was that like? What about you, Grace? What do you still hope to learn, or what might you want to ask God?
To be honest, I don't have a specific answer. I kind of just want to learn more in general.
I think if I were going to ask God some questions, one of them might be, why didn't you intervene sooner? Right? Like there's sometimes tough stuff that happens, and even painful or hard or scary things. And I can see now that, I made it through and I'm okay. But sometimes I feel and wonder like, well, God, why didn't you stop it sooner? Right? I'm kind of like in the story of Lazarus when Jesus finally shows up, but Lazarus has already died. And the sisters are like, why didn't you come sooner? Like, I feel like I could resonate with that, right? Even though I know how the story ends, I know that Lazarus is going to come out of the grave. I know that my life is, very blessed and God has taken care of me. There's still that piece in me that wonders like, but why didn't you come sooner?
So I kind of have an example of that when my grandpa died. And like it was before COVID. And I was like, well, it's kind of like the opposite of what you said, but I was like, well, why'd you take him? And then COVID came, and I'm like, that's why you took him, because you didn't want him to die of COVID. So, yeah.
And that you got to be around him, and there weren't these restrictions and all this extra stuff, right? Or extra fear. Yeah, I can see where you can find peace in that even still very hard thing. How do you think the church and faith is going to help you when you get older?
I kind of already said, like, it's how God's like a forever friend. But like, because I haven't been older, I don't really know what to expect. But I think him being a forever friend will help.
In what ways? How would that be helpful?
Well, so sometimes, so especially like if you're having a hard time with your job, or if you're having a hard time with family, or just whatever it is, I think he would be able to help us just because of him always being there. And then also like for the family thing, I think he would help us forgive others, but not like if they did something really bad to us and they're not going to change, then not like go right into like being with them at all times.
I love that. I heard you say that you maybe wouldn't feel so alone, that you would trust you can get through hard stuff, and that you even have the help to forgive. Just going to be necessary the older you get. What about you, Lennox? How do you think God might help you as you grow older?
He'll help me by, instead of doing like nothing, instead of like, it's better to do something than nothing. Like, I want to do like volunteering stuff and like just to help out the community. I mean, that's basically all I want to do. This is like to help out.
Yeah.
I love helping.
And how does knowing God or learning more about God help you help others?
It helps me help others. I mean, like, learning about Him is a good thing, and also helps me help out others by being more holy and, like, being more religious. Like, it's a good thing to know.
Yeah. Maybe, too, it helps you be reminded that there are other people in need. And just like God loves us and helps us through our stuff, then we can actually do very similar things. Something I think is so amazing about God is that God gives all of God's abilities to us. God doesn't reserve anything. God shares all of God's love, all of God's presence, even the power to do the amazing things that God has done. Jesus tells his disciples, I give you my power. Go and do these things in my name, and that's how the world will know who I am. And so that's what I hear you saying too, is that by knowing God now, you and growing in that knowledge, then you will have the power to continue helping other people. What would you tell someone who's never, known God or been a part of a church, what they might gain by at least learning more? Trying it out.
So especially if they don't believe in God overall, even if you don't believe in God, if you read his word and you follow what Jesus did, you can just become a better person overall.
Wow.
Because Jesus is kindness, and there's nothing wrong with being kind. So
I love that. What do you think? Why would somebody who doesn't know anything about God or is not a part of a church, what might they gain if they tried it? If they decided to try and learn more or try to, be a part of a faith community?
They actually, like, if they didn't know what God is or what he did for everyone, they just would just be like they wouldn't be happy or like, but if they if they gain like the knowledge of knowing what God does, they'll actually live a happier life, knowing that God is always by their side.
Yeah. I agree with that too. I think that God offers a completeness. Sometimes we read it as perfect, and we think that means, without failure, without mistakes, some sort of, unattainable angel-like existence. But I think God is really after giving us a completeness, a wholeness, where we are with God as we were originally designed and with one another. And that creates this nice wholeness and complete, where we're not alone, we're not missing anything, but we're whole. And I think it's not an accident that the word whole and holy sounds so much the same. I think that that's really something that God is after us. Any other thoughts you wanted to share as you're on this podcast today with the world listening about God, faith, or church community?
I wanted to say is that even if you tried it and you didn't like it, there's only positive effects. Like, nothing negative could come from it.
From just getting to know God or
know God. So, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Lennox? Any final thoughts?
Not really, no.
Not really? All right. Well, thank you so much both for being on here today, for sharing your faith and having real talk. I appreciate you. Well, we heard from some children today, and now I'm joined by Shannon Garza, our Director of Children's Ministry at First United Methodist Church Pearland. Shannon, what did you think about what we experience with our children?
I mean, I think they're great. I think that they their answers were, yeah, we had talked about, like, they were thoughtful. And as an adult, like, I feel like children just have so much to offer, and we have so much that we can learn just directly from them. I'm really proud of them, and I'm proud to know them and get to love them. So
Yeah.
I'm excited that we're doing this.
I love the simplicity in their answers. I love how none of them felt like they needed to fill the air with filler words. When they were done talking, they just stopped talking and looked at me like, move it on, let's go. That was refreshing because I feel like sometimes as adults, we just want to keep talking in circles. But also that they had such rich content. Their understanding of not only who God is, but why the church exists and what they've experienced from it. It was really phenomenal to hear that and be reminded maybe that we, the church, are doing some things right. Tell us a little bit about what you see your role in as family ministry and why that's important.
I think for me, just being able, like I said, definitely just knowing any and all of the children that we come in contact with, being able to love them, being able to rally and be a support to their parents and just to families in general, watching them grow, watching them being a safe place and being an honest place where they can, work through. Sometimes there are hard feelings, sometimes there's big feelings, and just being having this role it's an opportunity. It's a blessing. It blesses me more than I think I bless others sometimes, and so it's just very rewarding.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes if people wonder, well, why do you need, children's ministry? Why do we need something separate? Just sit them in the pew and they'll figure it out eventually. I mean, how would you answer that? Why do we do special things? Why do we put on a vacation Bible school? Why do we, do a special sermon session for our children who are, still in elementary school? What are some of the reasonings behind this kind of extra special steps we take for children and for families?
Why wouldn't we? I mean, I think, children are our future, whether we like that or not, or whether that scares us or not. They are the future of our church. They're the future of our community, of our country, all of the things. And so why would we not want to pour into them? Why would we not want them to have the best and be their best versions? And I just think foundationally, it's crucial. I just think, why not? Why wouldn't you? Why would you not want to support that and be a part of something bigger than ourselves, something that's gonna, last, for years to come? So,
yeah. I mean, I would firmly agree. And I was just thinking about something that was really neat about today recording with our children is that their parents were present. We made sure that they knew not to drop them off with us to pull this off, but that those moms got to hear what their kids think about faith, that they got to listen in to this real conversation about who they see God as, what they're getting out of a faith community, and even those places where they're hopeful this will help them in their future. Hearing these young people talk about the way that God is going to help them as adults, I don't know if I had even thought that far, and I was really glad that these parents got to hear, hey, what we're doing now, all the time and energy and the extra prayers and the explanations and the listening, it is making a difference and will continue to make a difference in these children's lives as they continue to grow as well, and how important it is for their faith. I thought that was really neat. From what you heard that the children shared today, what are some things that you hope someone listening hears about Jesus?
Just to be more like kids. I think adults complicate things, and rightfully so. I mean, we have lived more years. We've lived a longer life. We've experienced different situations. Our journeys are all very different. So we bring different ideals and ways of doing things to the table, just naturally. And so kids, they're at the beginning, like they're at the jumping off point. And the fact that the Bible itself, or like Jesus made time for kids and, to have a childlike faith, or, let the little children, like all of the things, like
there has to be some kind of importance or some in children. And I think that they have so much for us to learn and to just kind of like rein it in and, don't make it about ourselves, or don't make it so serious all the time, or you don't have to have like all the churchy words and the Sunday school answers and those kinds of things. In fact, I think a lot of times as adults, it's intimidating, especially to a non-church person. Anyone that would come into our community and feel like they don't fit in because they don't know the right words to say, or they feel like they're saying all the wrong things. Kids just take all that away. It's just, they are what they are. They are who they are. And that's my biggest thing. It's just, I think that the Bible says it for a reason, to have childlike faith and to keep it simple.
Yeah. I would agree that the simplicity is, again, refreshing. And we do overcomplicate things. We use too many words. We make it too much about ourselves. But also that, like you said, about having fun. And something I love about having children in worship with us versus maybe a separate children's church is we get to have more fun. I'm consciously aware that those children are present, and how can we have more fun? That's why we do things like a balloon drop or a silly string fight, in the middle of worship, right? In the middle of our holy, reverent time, because I believe God is full of fun. I always say my Jesus told jokes. And so to be able to enjoy the love of God, to jump around dancing and having fun, singing at the top of our lungs, like this freedom that children tend to still have. They haven't unlearned it like we adults have. I think it's helpful for us. I remember recently a dad was telling me that he was watching his daughter in worship and she had her arms raised. And we're not really an arm raising church. You and I raise our hands a lot, but often we're the only ones. And he thought, like, oh, wow, that's so neat that she's raising her arms. And then he looked around and realized she was watching you. And so she knew that her arms were, that's why she was doing that. And as he was telling me that, he was like, I'm just so happy that, she could see, you and Miss Shannon with their arms raised and knew that was okay. And I wanted to, I don't know if I did, but I wanted to say back, do you know it's okay? Could we learn from these little ones who, though there's only a few with their arm raised, were like, oh, we can do this. And so sometimes I like to embrace the fun and the freedom that children bring. And hopefully that will let us all kind of come out of our shell a little bit and not take ourselves so seriously, which can be just relieving, right? It can be liberating, which Jesus is really all about. How might we be more liberated and learn that through not only our worship alongside, but when we serve with kids on a week like VBS, where we're having so much fun and it's wild and crazy. But then also even, during, sermon session or in that small time or just conversations with kids, it doesn't have to be so serious. It can be a little more simple.
I think it's a misconception of like just our faith in general or Christianity. Like, well, I don't know, or, there's all kinds of rules, or I got to be this certain way and all of that. And I think it's completely opposite. And, when you do lean into your faith and you are a believer, like there's freedom, like you're free to be yourself. You're free to, I think it's turned. I don't know how to put that into words exactly, but there is so much freedom when you just accept it and you're all in. And I think that that's why kids, they make it look so easy because, we're adults and we don't see, but they do. And I think that the freedom and the fun and the uniqueness of all of us.
What would be your hope for anyone maybe listening today, struggling with how to talk about faith with their kids or in their family? What would just be your hope for them?
I would say don't be hard on yourself. In that, I know as parents, we compare a lot, or we see others in our faith community or just out, in the schools or our neighborhood and our friends. And so we think everybody's got it together. And I don't think that that's true. I know that that's not true. I think conversations can happen anywhere. You don't have to always, it's 2024. We're all going different directions. And it's not my favorite thing, but it's reality and it's the world we live in right now. And so sometimes it might be on the way to a ball practice. It might be, at bedtime or at that, find those little moments, those little nuggets. And then kids they want to talk. And so when they ask a question, like, make time for that. It doesn't have to look a certain way. And so I would say definitely lean into that. I think the saying, it takes a village, like, that's a real thing. And so, like, let your people support you. Let your people surround you. For me, having kind of like mentor moms that were ahead of me with older children, just kind of listening to their experiences. And I think that's a really special thing if you have a mom or dad or whoever, grandparent, someone that can kind of like support you or pat you on the back or say you're doing a good job, because you really are. Everybody's doing their best and trying to keep up.
What I heard you say about offering hope for those wrestling with faith today, what stood out was, again, this, it's not that complicated, my hope would be people listening today would hear the simplicity in the children's answers, what they are getting out of their faith experiences. And again, that they are already feeling not alone. And that, like you mentioned with, mentors and even relationship building, that those struggling with faith today, and how do I, lead and offer faith in my family, that they too would be willing to accept they're not alone either. God is with you every single day, every moment, every step of the way. And God has, created this community that is eager and ready and willing to come alongside. And I know there's plenty of people who have had bad experiences with church people. You and I have our own list. And that doesn't change God's goodness, and grace and mercy and new life. And even amidst those hard and difficult experiences, there are still other people who are good and kind, patient, compassionate. And so they make it worth it to kind of push through, because guess what? You're going to have negative experiences at Kroger or at Starbucks or at work or on the ball field too, where there's also good people who are kind, patient, compassionate, willing to see you and move closer. And I know for me, that's my one of my favorite things about family ministry as a whole, especially at First United Methodist Church Pearland, is that it is designed to say, hey, you don't have to do this alone. And there's a whole tribe of people that are ready and willing to come alongside you. We are a smaller community that has that access and that ability to really get to know the other kids, the other parents, the other families, and to do more than just show up and sing next to each other, but to really get involved in each other's lives and be that support and that care, and to have kids have friendships that last for years, but also parents too, because we all need a friend. We all need to be reminded that we don't have to do this alone. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share from today and our time with our kids and what God is doing in them?
No, I think like Grace's answer where she said that she loved that, like, she had friends, like it was a place where she could go and she didn't have to be embarrassed, or, if she wanted to, she could raise her hands or whatever. Like, I think it's just something really special. And the fact that our kids have that, so foundational. And, I was privileged enough to grow up in a faith home and to have that foundation. And so it's my desire that all children, you know what I mean? Like, home is different for everyone. But God is the same for everyone. And so I think I'm thankful to be a part of a place where the mission is the hearts of our people, whether they're children or adults or students or whatever. And so having that, and the fact that our kids can come on Sundays or come to VBS or come, whatever event we have, but then it doesn't have to be church sanctioned, or they're out together in the community, or they're going to school together, because I think having that accountability and having that just for them to be themselves and to know that it's okay to like lean into my faith and live out my faith, and that it's not like I have to leave that at church. And so I'm really, really grateful for that, because I have
I have teenagers. This is when they grow up, and then they become adults and all of the things. Like, I think that having that support system and people that just let you be you in all the right ways, it's priceless.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here today. Thank you for helping organize our kids to come and be a part of this. And thank you for what you're doing for families at First United Methodist Church Pearland and just in our city. Thank you for tuning in. We are so glad to continue having these real talk conversations. If you'd like to learn more about family ministry at First United Methodist Church Pearland or anything else that we're doing, check us out at our website. And I hope that you'll come back for another episode of Real Talk. We'll see you then. Real Talk Podcast is produced by First United Methodist Church Pearland in collaboration with Pearland Podcast Studios, recorded here in Pearland, Texas. We invite you to check out our website at fumcpearland.org to check out additional events and opportunities for you to engage in real talk about faith and relationships.